Organize your life before it disorganizes you. Face the routine you avoid. Get rid of your old version. Break with your disguised vices. Master your emotions with consciousness. Take care of what you consume. Take full responsibility for yourself. Strengthen your inner axis. Face the discomfort without running away. Turn order into spirituality. What if the chaos of your life doesn't come from what happens, but from how you react to what happens? Look around you. Batteries of unfinished tasks, interrupted conversations, forgotten promises. It is not the world that is chaotic, it is its interior that has lost the compass. And as long as its soul lives in disarray, no change on the outside will bring relief. You want peace, but you wake up late. You want focus, but you're distracted. You want to be respected, but you can barely hear yourself. You're always waiting for life to start after next Sunday, after your next paycheck, after your next love. But what if what's missing is not time, no luck, no motivation, but order? The real strength is not in doing anymore. It is in organizing what already exists within you. And Stoicism is not a manual for invincible heroes. It is a philosophy for people tired of losing themselves. In this video, you will learn how to organize life not with perfect agendas, but with firm choices. Not with external control, but with internal domain. 10 lessons, 10 doors. Each one will take you closer to a life that you do not need to escape to rest. Before we begin, write in the comments, "Today, I begin to put my life in order," because only those who build inside hold out. Let's get started. Number 1. Organize your life before it disorganizes you. Have you ever entered a messy room trying to find something simple, like a key, and ended up wasting more time, energy, and patience than you should? Now think, how many times have you tried to do the same within yourself? His mind, his time, his habits, everything is connected, and everything that is not put in his place slowly begins to occupy spaces that do not belong to him. Anxiety often is just an accumulation of unresolved tasks, unresolved conversations, avoided decision. Emotional confusion is born from practical mess. You want clarity, but you live in polluted visual environments. You want peace, but your routine is made of emergencies. You want purpose, but your days are stacked without intention. Chaos infiltrates small concessions. The after I see this, the only today I will ignore, the not so important. And gradually, what should be a home, your body, your mind, your life, becomes a deposit of to-dos. The disorganization is subtle. She does not scream, she whispers. She convinces you that you can leave for later. It will dust your commitments to yourself, and when you realize it, it is stifled by an avalanche of things that you did not choose, but allow. Stoicism does not talk about rigidity, but about alignment. Marcus Aurelius wrote every morning, not to be productive, but to organize his soul. He understood that a disordered mind is a fertile field for suffering. Order begins when you decide that everything, including your thoughts, will take its place. And order is not obsession, it's clarity. It's knowing that when everything inside you is in the right place, you don't need effort to act. The decision comes with lightness, action firmly. You don't need to run desperately after control anymore, because control has come to live in. To organize is not just to make lists. It is to define what matters, and to eliminate what does not. It is to learn to look at one's own life with the seriousness of those who understood that time is too limited and precious to be wasted with empty distractions. It's uncomfortable at first. When you start putting things in order, everything that was hidden comes out. Emotions packed, harmful habits, decisions postponed. But it is in this inner cleaning that the real change begins. Start small. Make your bed when you wake up. Organize your schedule. Detoxify your drawers, your cell phone, your relationships. Act like you're preparing the ground for something sacred, because that's what you're doing. Making room for your best version to bloom. And when it looks like chaos as one, remember, every external mess has internal roots. If you don't organize your mind, it confuses you. If you don't organize your time, it swallows you. If you don't organize your values, the world tells you who you should be. Life is an altar and can only be inhabited by what you honor. Every choice of organization, no matter how small, is a gesture of self-respect. It's like saying, I care. My mind matters. My days matter. And if that sounds hard, start anyway, because nothing is harder than living in a messy life. Make no mistake, you are not tired of life. You are tired of being out of control. And sometimes what you call lack of motivation is just your soul asking in order. So before you seek new ways, clean up what already exists. Before you want more, take care of what you have. Before reinventing yourself, reorder yourself. Organizing life is an act of courage. And courage is the first sign that the transformation has already begun. Number 2, face the routine you avoid. Heraclitus once said, you become what you repeat. You want to be strong. You want to be centered. You want to be respected. But what do you do every day for it? Not what you say you do. What you actually do. When no one is looking. When the day dawns gray. When your will does not appear. There is a silent myth that transformation comes from great decisions, dramatic events, epic turns. But the truth is much simpler and harder. Your life is made of what you repeat in the silence of ordinary days. Your mind is shaped by your habits. Your body is transformed by your rituals. Your identity is built by micro-actions that seem insignificant, and that's exactly why they're ignored. But they're the ones who define everything. Do you want the strength of Stoics? It is not in speeches, nor in impact phrases. It is in getting up from bed at the same time, even when your body asks for 5 minutes more. It is in keeping the focus when the world offers you 1,000 distractions. It is in keeping the word given, especially when it is given to itself. Discipline is not rigidity. It is self-love practiced in routine form. It is to care for your energy as one who cares for a sacred flame. It is to understand that the impulse excites you for a day, but it is the constancy that transforms you over the years. Look honestly. What have you systematically avoided? What habits do you keep putting off while you say you want to change your life? You say you want peace, but you always react to everything. You say you want focus, but your routine is built around distractions. You say you want freedom, but you run away from any compromise. The account doesn't close. Stoicism reminds us that freedom is not doing what you want, but choosing what is right and repeating it until it becomes part of who you are. It is not about willpower, but structure. A well-built routine is a shelter for the hard days and a bridge to the big days. Gradually, you will realize everything that exhausts you today comes from the lack of a system, from the life taken in improvisation, from the body carrying decisions that could already be automated. Every exhausting choice you repeat is a reminder. This could be habit. The greatest builders of themselves do not expect motivation to arrive. They create the scenario where it is unnecessary. They set themselves in motion because they understood what begins with effort ends in identity. And here's an essential point. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a routine that works for you and that you're able to sustain even on bad days. Create a sacred space in your day to take care of yourself. 10 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of training, 5 minutes of silence. No matter the format. What matters is commitment. What matters is that by repeating this little gesture, you send a message to your brain. I am someone under construction, and I take it seriously, because as long as you continue to live in random mode, you will continue to reap the same worn-out fruits. It's not fate that shapes you, it's direction, and direction is created with rhythm. Choose a little practice. Repeat for 7 days, then 7 more. Don't stop to ask if it's working. Just keep going. And one day, without realizing it, you'll be exactly what you said you wanted. Routine is not prison. It's a road. And the strength you're looking for is in it, waiting for you. Number 3. Through the pain, don't run away. The pain never knocks on the door with good manners. It invades. It enters without asking permission, settles in the corners of the chest, and demands attention. And most of us react as we have learned, trying to silence, postpone, distract. We run away from the pain with forced laughter, with busy schedules, with elegant vices. But what we don't realize, or don't want to admit, is that the pain doesn't go away. It waits, and every time we ignore it, it digs deeper. The truth is simple. You don't evolve running away from pain. You grow up when you go through it whole. It's uncomfortable to say that. I know. We would all like the transformation to come through smoother paths. Just read a good book, listen to a good phrase, or have a revealing conversation. But reality is raw. Real growth begins when pain squeezes, and you stay. When you don't look for shortcuts, when you don't turn to what's easy, when you don't negotiate with your own conscience, when you look inside and find the places where you're afraid to play, and yet it does. The pain is like a distorted mirror. It shows parts of you that you would like to hide. Insecurities, badly healed wounds, emotional dependencies, inflamed prides. And it is in this confrontation that you discover who you really are. The Stoic is not what he does not feel. It is what he feels deeply, but does not allow it to break. He understands that feeling pain is part of the game of life, but refuses to be shaped only by it. He chooses to be shaped by the answer he gives to it. And that answer doesn't have to be heroic. It doesn't require greatness. Sometimes going through the pain means just taking a deep breath and going on. Stay silent where you used to explode. Saying no where you used to bow. Cry without shame, but without giving up. You can hide for a while, it's true. You can occupy your mind with work, with social media, with anything that distracts you from yourself. But the day will come when the void that has been under the carpet will become impossible to ignore. And on that day you'll have two options: keep running or stop and cross. You understand that pain, as cruel as it may seem, came to you with a message, and there is no more transformative wisdom than to listen to this message with humility. You want to be stronger, so stop running from the pain like she's an enemy. Start looking at her as an inevitable part of the path of someone who's becoming a better person. The wound is the door, and only those who have the courage to cross find out what's on the other side. Seneca said that the man who learned to deal with suffering is truly free, because nothing scares him anymore. He has walked through the dark valley and knows there is light after. There is firm ground after. There is rebirth after. But that's only possible if you choose to stand in the middle of the earthquake. Not by stubbornness, but by conviction. The conviction that no matter how much you donate, you're not willing to lose your soul. And yes, sometimes you'll fall. You'll doubt. You'll wonder if it's really worth following. But every pain has an expiration date. And when it passes, because it passes, what's left is the version of you that had the courage to cross. This version is no longer light. It's denser, more whole. It carries scars, yes, but it also carries the peace of those who didn't run away. And it's this peace you've been looking for all along. Number 4, master your desires. It's not what you have, but what you want to hold you back. We live in an era where wanting is celebrated. You're encouraged to dream loudly, to seek more, to never be content. And of course, there is nothing wrong with growing. But there is a thin line, almost invisible, between growing by fulfillment and growing by want. This line, when exceeded, turns your desire into prison. You believe you'll only be happy when you reach that. You'll only have peace when you win that. And while that doesn't happen, everything you live for now seems like drafts, rehearsals, midways. What few tell you is that desire has infinite thirst, and the more you feed it without consciousness, the more it grows and swallows you. It promises freedom, but requires obedience. And without realizing it, you begin to live as a servant, running for validation, status, applause, believing that this will make you complete. But desire, when unfiltered, becomes a disguise for a hole you don't want to face. Do you want to be admired, or do you want to be loved? Do you want to be rich, or do you want to feel safe? Do you want to be recognized, or do you just, in your heart, want to feel that your existence has value? Stoicism invites a deeper examination. Why do you want what you want? It's not about denying everything. It's not about living without ambition. It's about taking control of your desires so that they serve your essence, not the other way around. Because when desire rules, it takes away your peace. When you rule, it guides you. Stoics called this apatheia, not in the modern sense of apathy, but of emotional sovereignty, the ability not to be dragged by blind passions, the ability to choose, consciously, where you invest your will. And that takes courage. Courage to realize that many of your dreams are not yours, inherited, taxed, conditioned, come from comparisons, traumas, external narratives. You don't have to want everything. You don't have to prove anything. You just need to decide what is essential and silence the rest. Imagine now that all your wishes would shut up for a day. No internal charges. No list of goals. No need to be more. Do more. Conquer more. Who would you be? What would be left of you when the noise of wanting ceased? That's your core. That's your starting point. When you learn to suffice, the world loses the power to manipulate you. You do not become indifferent. You become free. You begin to choose calmly, with discretion, with truth. And paradoxically, you begin to conquer more, just because it no longer depends on anything. Seneca said that the rich man is the one who is satisfied with what he has. And this is not about conformism. It's about conscience. It's about stopping living like an emotional beggar waiting for crumbs of approval. You may want what you want, but it is you who choose, not your wounds. Desiring clearly is an act of sovereignty. Desiring urgently is an act of submission. And what are you building after all? A life of purpose or a castle made of scarcity? In the end, it's not about having more. It's about being more whole. And that begins when you learn to desire wisely. Number 5. Lay down limits or disappear. Do you ever feel like you're losing yourself? Like I'm there for anything but you? Being too available, giving in too much, listening too much, putting up with too much seems, in the beginning, a gesture of love. But in time, it becomes a silent process of self-abandonment. The world has no problem consuming you. It only goes as far as you allow. And if you do not draw clear limits, you will be swallowed up by other people's demands, expectations that are not yours, and guilt that does not belong to you. Imposing boundaries isn't pushing each other away. It's protecting what's more true about you. Think about it. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you betray a part of yourself. And this accumulation of small betrayals will turn your soul into a tight, stuffy place where your essence can no longer breathe. You start living on your toes, measuring words, hiding opinions, accepting invitations that run out, maintaining relationships that drain, fulfilling promises that you don't even remember why you made. And when you look in the mirror, you don't recognize who's there anymore. Border is border, and every well-defined border avoids war. It's not about lifting walls. It's about building doors with locks, understanding that you're not obliged to be everything to everyone, that you don't have to justify yourself by protecting your peace, that silence can be more honest than the forced explanation. The Stoics understood this with mastery. They knew that the inner force is directly linked to clarity on purpose, And that only keeps the focus on those who do not live by saying yes to what is distracting. Life requires energy, mental, emotional, spiritual energy. And every yes you offer without discretion steals a piece of that energy. Gradually you get exhausted without knowing why, because part of you is in places where you shouldn't be. Learning to say no is one of the most difficult and most liberating gestures. At first it will hurt. You will feel guilty, selfish, ungrateful. But then comes clarity. You begin to realize that you were trying to save everyone while drowning. And then something changes. You start to come back to yourself, to go back to what nourishes you, to your own rituals, to the solitude that strengthens, to the silence that organizes, and above all, to self-respect, the one that does not scream, but is practiced. To impose limits is to remind the world that you exist, and that you exist with value. And that does not require anger. It requires firmness. Firmness to recognize that those who do not know how to put themselves will be placed anywhere. Firmness to stop waiting for others to guess their limits. Firmness to be the first to respect, even if others delay to understand. You don't have to be rude. Clearness is the biggest sign of emotional maturity. And it starts when you understand that life won't slow down, so you can get organized. And you're the one who needs to stop, breathe, and decide where it starts and where it ends. Respect your limits, because deep down, they are the map that leads back to your integrity. And a life without integrity is just survival disguised as kindness. Number 6, select what feeds you. Do you realize how noisy your mind becomes, even when everything around you is silent? There is an invisible avalanche falling on you every day, made of images, opinions, notifications, noises, and emergencies, others. An avalanche that seems harmless, but that buries, little by little, its serenity. The peace you seek is not hidden in a distant place. It is in the kind of food you give to your conscience. And all that comes in through your eyes, your ears, and your attention is food. Every content consumed, every conversation started, every account you follow, every sound you tolerate, every stimulus you accept without realizing. All this adds up and turns your mind into a territory or fertile or toxic. Do you want to live in peace? Then start by recognizing peace does not improvise. It is built with daily choices. And it begins, always, through the doorway. What you allow to enter your mind field. We live as if we could absorb everything and not be affected by anything. But it is naive to believe that you are neutral in the face of what you consume. Each stimulus is a seed, and the soil of your soul is always on planting. The only question is, what are you cultivating? The human mind has limits, and the excess of information, though well-intentioned, suffocates. The more you absorb, the heavier it gets. Not in the body, but in the spirit. And the lightness you miss may be being stolen by content that does not add to you, but remain there, eating away from within. The Stoics understood this with precision. They not only sought wisdom, but protected their inner space with discipline. They knew that what you repeatedly tolerate shapes the quality of your perception. And without a clear perception, even the truth becomes confusing. We need to create surveillance, and surveillance here is not paranoia, it's self-care. Have you noticed how you feel after sailing for hours without direction? How does your mood change after watching something loaded with violence or controversy? How does your anxiety intensify when compared to filtered lives? These feelings aren't random, they're consequences. And every one of them drives you away a little bit from the peace you want so much. Clearing your digital environment is an act of mental hygiene. Reducing stimuli is a vow of commitment to your lucidity. To silence excesses is to make room to listen to yourself, and listening to yourself is the only way to regain presence. You don't have to become a monk. You just have to recognize the value of your attention, because it's the most precious resource you have, and the world competes for it every day. When you choose what you connect with, you begin to realize that peace does not depend on the world being calm, but on being selective. You can be in a chaotic environment and still maintain serenity. You have learned not to let the world enter uninvited. The mind, like a house, needs doors and locks. Not everything that knocks at the door deserves to come in. Not every message needs to be read. Not every opinion needs to be absorbed. Not every content needs to be clicked. Your peace begins when you assume the role of guardian of your mind. It starts when you decide that not everything deserves your energy, that your attention is sacred, that your silence is valuable, and that your mental health is not for sale. You want to change your life? Then start with the invisible. Start with what you consume without realizing. Start with what you tolerate in the name of entertainment, company, distraction. Start by clearing the field where your peace needs to be born. Because in the end, the quality of your life will always be a reflection of the quality of what you feed within yourself. And there's no peace where there's excess. Number 7, take what is yours. You can blame the past. You can point your finger at your parents, at school, at the lack of support, at the people who hurt you. You can repeat 1,000 times that you had no opportunities, that life was unfair, that no one taught you to live properly. And all this can be true, but none of this frees you from the responsibility you have over what you do with all this right now. Because there comes a time when pain doesn't explain it anymore, it just traps. And what was a legitimate narrative turns into a wall that separates you from the life you say you deserve, but it doesn't move to reach. Personal responsibility is the limit between maturity and paralysis. That's when you stop telling stories about why you can't and start writing the story of how you're gonna do it. Most people don't reject change by laziness, because change requires admitting that it's in your hands, that no matter how cruel the world is, the next step is yours, and that scares you. Because if the next step is yours, then so is stagnation. Personal responsibility is not guilt. Guilt paralyzes. Responsibility frees. She says, what they did to me was not fair, but what I do with it now is my choice. Stoicism begins at this exact point, when you stop demanding that the world change and start organizing your battlefield. When you understand that you have no control over the cards you received, but you can decide how to play them. And more, you can refuse to repeat the game of the one who hurt you. It is a breaking point. Painful, almost always. Because taking personal responsibility is abandoning the comfort of victimism. And there is a certain pleasure in being a victim. You are never wrong. You never have to act. You always have an enemy to blame. But the victim doesn't build. The freedom you seek is not made of convincing excuses. It's made of courageous choices. Do you remember the last time you blamed someone for something deep down that depended on you? The last time you transferred your failure into the circumstances, as if they had more power over your life than your decisions. That is what prevents us from evolving. The illusion that we are still hostages. But the truth is that the key is in your hand, and it has always been. Taking personal responsibility is choosing to carry the weight of what still needs to be done, instead of continuing to carry the weight of what has not been done in the past. It's lighter, believe me. Take it because it offers movement, because it returns power, because it doesn't depend on anyone but you. And I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. I'm saying it'll be real. You will have to accept uncomfortable truths. You will have to look in the mirror and admit that many of your limitations are not impositions of the world. They are your concessions. You will have to give up the identity built around lack, waiting, pain. And that is the greatest freedom. To get out of the role of those who suffer and enter into the role of those who transform. You are not obliged to be a consequence of your history. It can be continuation or rupture. It could be the one who repeats or the one who chooses different. Life doesn't reward anyone who screams louder. It favors those who act, those who insist, those who stumble and still continue, those who understand that error is human, but to remain in error is cowardice. The freedom you want requires that kind of courage, to take the authorship of your own life. And this authorship is not about total control. It's about full presence, about understanding that you don't control time, the other, the unforeseen, but you control your answers, and your answers shape your destiny. You want to change your life? Then stop waiting for the world to change. Change you, one habit at a time, one thought at a time, one reaction at a time. Take the risk of being whole, because that's the only way you're truly free. I sincerely hope that this message has been helpful. I sincerely want to congratulate you for coming this far and completing the video. That means that you want to improve as a person. If you liked the video, leave your comment. If you don't know what to say, comment gratitude. Then I'll know that you've watched until the end. If you're not already on the channel, what are you waiting for? Sign up now and join us. Stoicism is full of teachings like this, which are applicable to our everyday life. Therefore, I encourage you to continue learning about this philosophy. I leave here 2 videos full of Stoic wisdom, so you can continue learning. Until next.